crowd gathered before sunrise. More than 100 angry neighbors stood outside the Oak Valley Community Center holding signs, shouting demands, and calling for one woman to be removed from power. The HOA president, Margaret Collins. People called her a tyrant, a bully, control freak. Some even called her evil. And by noon, the entire neighborhood was celebrating what they thought was her downfall. What they didn't know was that every accusation, every rumor, and every angry speech was built on a lie. By the time the truth came out, half the neighborhood wished they could take back everything they had said. Before we continue, if you enjoy HOA stories with shocking twists and unexpected justice, subscribe and tell me in the comments. Have you ever misjudged someone before knowing the full story? Now let me explain how an entire neighborhood turned against the wrong person. My name is David Parker. For nearly 8 years, I lived in Oak Valley Estates. Like most homeowners, I wasn't exactly a fan of the HOA. Nobody likes receiving violation notices. Nobody enjoys being told what color they can paint their mailbox. But despite the complaints, things were usually peaceful. Then everything changed when Margaret Collins became HOA president. Margaret wasn't friendly. She wasn't warm. She didn't attend neighborhood barbecues. She rarely smiled. Whenever she spoke at HOA meetings, she sounded strict and direct. Naturally, people disliked her. The complaints started almost immediately. She fined residents for leaving trash bins out too long. She cited homeowners for abandoned vehicles. She even forced several property owners to remove structures built without permits. People were furious. Social media groups exploded with complaints. Neighborhood Facebook pages filled with angry posts. Every week, someone seemed to have a new story about Margaret, and every story made her look worse. Then came the incident that turned frustration into hatred. A popular resident named Ryan Foster received a notice ordering him to remove a large backyard structure he had built. Ryan was loved by everyone. He coached youth baseball, helped elderly neighbors, volunteered at community events. When he posted pictures of the violation notice online, outrage spread like wildfire. People immediately chose sides. Ryan became the victim. Margaret became the villain. Nobody bothered asking questions. Nobody wanted details. They already believed they knew the truth. Within days, residents organized petitions demanding Margaret resign. Some homeowners refused to pay HOA dues. Others publicly confronted her during meetings. The hostility became so intense that Margaret started leaving meetings through side exits to avoid crowds. But she never defended herself. She never argued. She never revealed why she had taken those actions. That silence only made people hate her more, including me. At the time, I thought she was exactly what everyone said she was. A power-hungry HOA president obsessed with control. Then one evening, I witnessed something that didn't make sense. Something that planted the first seed of doubt in my mind. And once I started looking closer, the entire story began to change. The moment that changed everything happened on a rainy Thursday evening. I was driving home from work when I noticed Margaret's SUV parked near the edge of the neighborhood. At first, I thought nothing of it. Then I saw her carrying grocery bags toward a small house at the end of a quiet street. The house belonged to Mrs. Eleanor Brooks, an 83-year-old widow who rarely left her home. Everyone in the neighborhood knew Eleanor. She lived alone. Her husband had passed away years earlier. Most people assumed Margaret was there to deliver another violation notice. That assumption fit the story everyone already believed. But then I watched Margaret unlock Eleanor's front door and walk inside. An hour later, she came back out carrying trash bags. The next day, curiosity got the better of me. I stopped by Eleanor's house and asked if everything was okay. The elderly woman smiled. "Oh, Margaret was helping me again." "Helping you? She comes by every week." That answer surprised me. Eleanor explained that Margaret drove her to medical appointments, bought groceries when she couldn't leave the house, and helped maintain the property. According to Eleanor, Margaret had been doing it for nearly 2 years. For free. I left feeling confused. The image didn't match the villain everyone described. Still, one good deed didn't erase dozens of complaints. Or so I thought. A week later, another strange discovery appeared. Ryan Foster's famous backyard structure, the one that had caused all the outrage, was suddenly being removed. Heavy equipment arrived early in the morning. Workers dismantled the entire thing. The neighborhood erupted again. People blamed Margaret. But this time I decided to ask questions before joining the outrage. One of the contractors happened to be a friend of mine. When I asked why the structure was being removed, he looked surprised. "You don't know?" "No what?" He lowered his voice. "The county ordered it removed." I stared at him. "What do you mean the county ordered it?" "The permits were denied months ago. The structure violated safety regulations." That wasn't what Ryan had told everyone. According to social media, Margaret had removed it because she hated him. The contractor shook his head. "No." The county inspectors said it was dangerous. That answer bothered me a lot, because it meant someone wasn't telling the full story. The more I investigated, the stranger things became. Several homeowners who claimed Margaret targeted them had conveniently left out important details. One resident had built an illegal rental unit. Another had blocked emergency access routes. A third had ignored repeated safety warnings. Yet online, every story sounded the same. Margaret bad. Resident good. No exceptions. Then I discovered something even more shocking. Financial records. Public records. Meeting minutes. Documents most residents had never bothered reading. And buried inside those documents was evidence that Margaret had spent years protecting the neighborhood from a disaster nobody even knew existed. A disaster that would have cost homeowners millions of dollars. Suddenly her strict behavior started making sense. The fines, the inspections, the enforcement actions. None of them were random. She had been trying to stop something serious. And the people attacking her had no idea how much trouble they were actually in. But the biggest revelation was still waiting, because hidden inside those records was a name connected to nearly every complaint, every rumor, and every attempt to remove Margaret from office. And once that connection became public, the entire neighborhood finally learned who the real villain had been all along. The name hidden inside those records was Victor Lang. At first, it meant nothing to me. He wasn't a homeowner. He wasn't an HOA board member. Most residents had never even heard of him. But the deeper I dug, the more often his name appeared. Victor owned a real estate investment company based 2 counties away. On paper, his business looked ordinary. In reality, it had spent years quietly buying distressed properties throughout the region. And Oak Valley Estates was one of its targets. The financial records revealed something alarming. Years before Margaret became HOA president, engineers had identified drainage issues affecting several sections of the neighborhood. If ignored, the damage could eventually affect foundations, roads, and utility systems. Repair costs were estimated in the millions. Margaret inherited the problem when she took office. Most HOA presidents would have ignored it. She didn't. Instead, she pushed strict enforcement of building regulations, permit requirements, and safety standards. The goal wasn't control. The goal was protecting property values while the HOA worked with engineers and county officials to prevent larger problems. But those efforts created enemies, especially among residents who didn't want restrictions. And Victor Lang saw an opportunity. According to meeting records and emails that later became public, Victor had been quietly encouraging homeowners to oppose the HOA board. His company hoped falling property values would create opportunities to purchase homes at reduced prices. The more chaos inside the neighborhood, the better it was for his business. Suddenly everything made sense. The rumors, the social media outrage, the coordinated complaints, the petitions demanding Margaret resign. Many had originated from people connected to Victor's network. Even Ryan Foster's situation looked different now. When county investigators reviewed the case, they confirmed Margaret had actually delayed enforcement for months while trying to help Ryan correct the violations. Instead of exposing him publicly, she had attempted to work with him privately. That detail never appeared on social media, because outrage spreads faster than facts. The truth finally exploded during a packed HOA meeting. Residents arrived expecting another confrontation. Instead, attorneys presented documents, financial records, and communications linking Victor's organization to multiple misinformation campaigns targeting the HOA. The room fell silent. For nearly an hour, evidence appeared on large screens. One rumor after another collapsed. One accusation after another fell apart. People who had spent months attacking Margaret suddenly found themselves staring at facts they could no longer ignore. Then Margaret finally spoke. For the first time since the controversy began, she defended herself. Not angrily, not emotionally, calmly. She explained every major decision, every enforcement action, every unpopular rule, and the reasons behind them. By the time she finished, nobody was shouting. Nobody was demanding her resignation. Many residents looked embarrassed. Some even apologized, including me. I had judged her without knowing the truth. Most of the neighborhood had done the same. In the months that followed, Victor's company abandoned its plans involving Oak Valley Estates. The infrastructure project moved forward. Property values stabilized, and the neighborhood slowly returned to normal. As for Margaret Collins, she remained HOA president. Not because people suddenly loved her, but because they finally understood something important. Leadership isn't always popular. Sometimes the person everyone hates is the same person protecting them from a danger they cannot yet see. And sometimes the truth doesn't change who someone is. It simply reveals who they were all along.